All right, my friends, stick with me here for a minute. I'm going to get deep, and it's based on a whole bunch of thoughts and conversations I've been having with myself lately, a lot of research I've been doing. So it goes along the lines of something like this. Have you ever had a quiet conversation with yourself that you kind of ask yourself these questions thinking that, man, what is going on? I seem way messed up. What in the world is happening? So here's the line of questioning. Art, are you drunk? Myself, I would answer no. And again, I don't think so. In fact, I know so. And then I might answer again, wait, but what do you mean? It's one of those out-of-body moments, or rather an out-of-mind moment, where you ask yourself, what the what? In those moments, it seems that temporarily suspending the haze through either external stimulus in the form of a question or even adverse action or reaction from our current environment, whether it be from ourselves or another person. It's the exact freeze moment when we might consider that in all reality, we might just be intoxicated. So I've been studying cognitive biases lately and the way they show up in our lives. I've also been spending time with Malcolm Gladwell's most recent work titled Talking to Strangers. My mind is just completely all over the place when it comes to the possible corollaries between the impact of alcohol on the brain as it relates to our surroundings, while also considering the parallel behavior and affect under the influence of our own biases. So, in an attempt to further explore my own hypothesis that indeed these two scenarios do have similarities and they do correlate, that they're both self-serving and they both have the same or similar potentially damaging behavior, I reached out to my friend Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Now, Dr. Hardy is a PhD in organizational psychology. And he's also a well-known author and speaker, and he's currently preparing to release his upcoming book titled Personality Isn't Permanent, where he teaches the reader that rather than being defined by the past and trapped in unresolved traumas, you can build your identity and internal narrative to serve the future you desire. If you haven't pre-ordered it yet, run, don't walk. Again, run, do not walk. Go get this book, go pre-order it. Again, the title is Personality Isn't Permanent. That's not a paid advertisement. He didn't even ask me to talk about his book, but I promise you, this is a heartfelt plug for a work that I believe will absolutely change the world. So, back to the quest for theoretical support. I shot Benjamin a text with this question last week. I asked him this question: what impact do you believe environmental construct has on bias myopathy, and possibly even the reversal of destruction of myopic cognition? So as any good coach or teacher might do, he didn't answer the question, he just simply asked me what I thought. And so this is how I answered. I said, if I'm drawing conclusions from some of the reading and studying that I've been doing, alcohol has a myopic effect on the mind by creating a nearsightedness and a frontal spacing for the immediate belief of surrounding environment. So if somebody's drinking alone and they're trying to drink away their sorrow of being alone, oftentimes that being alone exacerbates the loneliness. If somebody is drinking in a comedy club, it may enhance their belief that they too are also funny. So I would presume that nearsightedness or the nearsightedness of bias would have a similar reinforcement effect based on the construct of our environment. I believe both are altered states. By definition, myopia is defined as a lack of imagination, foresight, or intellectual insight. So a myopic or blurred bias, fixed reality, would then have a similar effect of alcohol on the individual, placing only what's in an immediate frontal space or a known belief into an enhanced or exacerbated reinforcement of presumed reality. What does all that mean? If my bias is reinforced by my environmental condition, then the bias becomes stronger, it becomes exaggerated. So I reached out to Dr. Hardy because of his work in environmental construct. And I proposed to him in our conversation that I believe the chance for bias deconstruct could be made possible through intentional environmental construct and new habit formation. In Malcolm Gladwell's book, Talking to Strangers, he states, "If you're blind to the ideas that underlined our mistakes with strangers and to the institution and practices that we construct around those ideas, then all you're left with is the personal." And upon further exploration, he closes with this question and statement. Because we do not know how to talk to strangers, what do we do when things go awry with strangers? We blame the stranger. To say my mind is racing would be an understatement. This concept, and more importantly, the understanding of how entrenched one can become in their own biases, as well as the possibility that through effective environmental construct and habit formation, we can actually create a space for bias destruction that can further unlock our ability to grow and develop. If so, then where does adaptive affect come into the picture? I'd suspect that the same biases, or adaptive and contagious based on environmental construct, I would suspect that some of these biases develop unknowingly and through extended exposure to a particular environment. We'll have to save that for a conversation on another day. But in closing, the more I understand my own biases and observe the biases of those around me, the more I realize that we are all too often intoxicated in and by our own cognition. The myopic impact of biases, both conscious and unconscious, can and most often blind us from the possibilities of growth. If we're to intentionally create a disruption, what external event could we create to draw a clear and reckoning awareness of our own limiting biases? So until next week, friends, I'll leave you with that question. May you find joy in the journey as you learn to honor the gift.